Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Spitz-Cohan, Executive Director of Film Pittsburgh, and I'm excited to talk to all these lovely filmmakers today. This is the Pittsburgh Shorts Block 4 group, and I thank you all for being here and spending your time with us today. Let's go around the room here and introduce yourself. Let's start with you, Alexandra.
Thanks, Catherine. Hi, so I am Alexandra Blue. I am one of the producers of Endo, and Endo is a comedy about a woman who wants to have sex, but she also has endometriosis, and it's about how that really plays havoc in her life. It's a lot of fun, but also informative.
Charles?
Hey y'all, Charles Andrew Gardner. I use he, him, his, and I am the writer, producer, and actor in Long Ride Home. And the film is about an up-and-coming Black lawyer who takes a ride to his childhood home to find out that he didn't get as far as he thought he did with his success.
Daniel?
Hi, everybody. I'm Daniel Rashid. I produced, I'm the actor, and I also wrote along with Avi, who's next, Running Out. And Avi, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Avi. I collaborated with Daniel on Running Out. I directed it, co-wrote it, edited it. Yeah, it's a film about this guy who's so caught up in the craziness of work and rushing to the airport. And when his mom seemingly gets into a car accident, it kind of puts things into perspective.
Giulia, I think you're next.
Oh, hi, I'm Giulia Gandini. I'm the director and producer of Homestream, which is a participatory short documentary in which my team and I provided an iPhone to a person currently experiencing homelessness on the streets of London, and she self-recorded her life on the streets for 3 days.
Chris, bring up the rear.
I'm Kris Sundberg. I'm the writer, director, and one of the visual effects artists for Brothers. This was a film about two brothers who grew up together, best friends, until one of them sadly passes away in a car accident, and the surviving brother decides to rebuild him as a robot.
So Chris, let's start with you. How did this film come to be? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. This was basically my friends and I from college had been working in different aspects of the film industry for several years and wanted to come together and make a film together again. We hadn't done something where we'd had more creative control. We hadn't worked together in a while. So we were trying to come up with something. And I think at the time I was very inspired by Game of Thrones. I actually wrote it like 2 or 3 years ago and came up with the ending first. It's kind of a shock ending, and then wrote the rest from there, and we all got together and worked on it. It was a lot of fun.
Was there any autobiographical relationship to the idea of loss?
A little bit, not necessarily loss, but just the relationship of the brothers themselves. I grew up in a family with 3 brothers, so a lot of their relationship and being best friends and the stuff that they do together until the brother dies is definitely based on my childhood and growing up with my brothers. And then just thinking about, of course, if I were to lose one of them, how that would feel.
It's interesting because we live in a time when what you created on film is not that far off. It's really possible. We're showing 137 short films, and in 20 blocks. And it's interesting. There is another film about a similar theme from another country altogether.
Wow.
And the idea of bringing back a loved one for a short period of time. So I just find it I always say that filmmakers have their independent filmmakers have their finger on the pulse of what's happening in the world. And you do, so I look forward to sharing your film. Alexandra, tell us a little bit about Endo. And oh my goodness, it was so funny how you took a serious and painful subject and just had me rolling.
I'm really pleased you enjoyed it. I think that's really the power of comedy, is that you can speak about things which are quite difficult and you don't really want to talk about. No one really wants to talk about painful gynecological conditions. It's not fun. And that's kind of why we made the film. So the writer, Elaine, actually has endometriosis. And she wrote the screenplay off the back of a really difficult doctor's appointment in which the doctor pretty much dismissed all of her pain. And you might not know this about endometriosis, but on average, it takes some insane amount of time for women to get diagnosed, like 7-8 years. And 1 in 10 women actually have this condition. So it's pretty shocking. And there's not really a cure, and the treatments are very, very limited, and they don't do a lot. And so she had this really bad experience with the doctor, and she came home, she bashed out this script out of anger. And she and I had made another short film together, which was a comedy a couple of years back. And she brought the script to me and also to a director friend of ours, Alice, and she shared it with us. And we were like, oh my God, we have to make this film, particularly because we knew what she went through with the condition. And we just thought, yeah, we have to speak about this, but also in a way that's entertaining, because it's a very difficult conversation to have. So that's kind of how it came about.
I love it. And that's a great thing about art, you know, is taking difficult subjects and providing them for people to learn about something that they possibly didn't know about before. So thank you for that. Charles, talk to us about your film and how did it come to be?
So Long Ride Home, unfortunately, was just the byproduct of being Black and living in America. I mean, I think that, you know, even this week alone sees that, right? Where just unarmed Black men are just, and Black people in general are just constantly being, you know, gunned down and killed. And this was 2017, and a recent event had just happened. And I was just like, man, even though I'm starting to gain, you know, a footing in my career and gaining success, at any moment, you know, the same thing can happen to me. So really, it was me trying to grapple with W.E.B. Du Bois calls it double consciousness, about a Black person living in America and being Black and being an American, and how upward mobility can sometimes blind you from that fact, and the harsh realities of the world that we live in kind of ground you back into the reality of the world that we live in. So yeah, not quite as funny as Alexandra's film, but you know, I think definitely, like you said, just art and taking the opportunity to make a statement about where we are, and have people be able to access it from an artistic standpoint.
Yeah, I really appreciated the, you know, the focus, meaning I'd never seen that story before. And I really greatly appreciated it from the perspective that you told it. And it was, you know, frightening. And I appreciated the relationships with, you know, the people that were you the lead actor?
Yeah.
The guy coming home? Yeah.
You know, I was shaved.
Yeah. And, you know, just the whole idea of the interacting with the people that you used to know, and what that was like, and just really appreciated that. Daniel and Avi, I have to say your film slayed me, perhaps because I have had those conversations with people in my life, and you really had me. And I really almost, I mean, I just was so anxious at the end. So tell us a little bit how you guys came up with this story.
Yeah, it came about in two ways. One is a personal experience that Avi had. I'll let you share that, Avi.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just, so what this film kind of tackles is just appreciating the people that you love in your life, and not forgetting to tell them that, because you never know. And I never had anything bad happen, but I've just had a few experiences where I went home for winter break during college, or after college. I just went home for the holidays, and I had so much work I barely spent any time with my family. And it took like a really bad winter where I just worked the whole time to realize, oh, my time with them is limited. I need to, you know, appreciate that and spend time with them, like quality time with them when I can. So that's what kind of inspired the film.
Yeah, and Avi and I, we make a lot of things, a lot of shorts and sketches, and this kind of was born out of a desire to challenge ourselves to make something that could be shot in one take, because we've never done that. So it's kind of started as an experiment, like what's a story that could work within the context, so it makes sense that it would be shot in one take, not something that we just want to show off, like we just shoot in one take, but like what's a story that would make sense within that visual concept. And we started, I'm a recovering workaholic, and so we very much related on like those experiences where you just don't feel present with the people who you really care about. And we wrote this together, and so we kind of got to the emotional core of it. And then Avi's very structure, like his brain is incredible with film structure, and I'm more dialogue focused. And so he wrote out a structure, and then I wrote out the script, and then we shot the thing in one take over and over again.
What a beautiful partnership. I love it. I have to tell you that in my notes on the film after watching it, I think I said something like, was that shot in one take? And then I was like, go back and look. Of course, when you're programming 167 films over the course of 12 days, you don't really have time to do that. But I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I was so tuned in to the story that I thought that's what it was, but I really honestly was so focused on the dynamics between the people and the phone call and and missing your plane. I was just right there with you.
Well, and that's the goal. That means a lot, because we didn't want to draw attention to it being one take, but it makes the moment feel so present when right. you don't have a break. Right. So that was the idea.
Right. Thank you, Giulia. I have never seen a film like this. We don't often include films shot on cell phones. I was so moved by what you did, and thank you again. We provide a platform for you all to present your films and for people to be able to talk about things like this. How did this come to be? I mean, how did you find, her name is Lily?
Yeah. Lily.
How did you find Lily? Lily is a homeless person, or she was when she shot this film. And what was your, were you with her, or did you just say like, okay, here's a cell phone, go shoot your film?
Well, I mean, first of all, thank you for giving a platform for Lily's stories to be heard and be shared. She was incredibly excited when I told her about being part of the festival. I met Lily just on Strand, which is an area of London quite central. And I was looking for contributors for this documentary. So I already had the concept of, I want to make my first short documentary, because I usually work as a director in fiction. I had never done a doc before. And I wanted the documentary to be participatory. And that's because I had come across a lot of good documentaries about the topic of homelessness, but they were always filtered through the filmmaker's point of view behind camera, who very much like me had never experienced homelessness firsthand. And so, I don't know, there was something about that made me feel uncomfortable. And I was like, nah, I want to switch it around, and I want to be able to give the person experiencing homelessness storytelling and visual power. And yeah, I just met a lot of people, but Lily was the one that the most wanted to really tell her story. She really wanted people to know why she was where she was, who she was, and where she wanted to be in the future. And she just had this way of telling her life, which was so endearing. Like, she's a natural storyteller, basically. So I was very lucky to meet Lily. And then the way we actually shot the documentary, initially I just wanted to give Lily the phone. And I told her, you go off and you shoot whatever you feel like shooting, and you come back to me with the footage, and then we edit it together. But that didn't quite work out, mainly because Lily wanted to tell her story, but she was a bit uncertain on how to do it. And I figured out very quickly that she worked better with the support and reassurance of someone next to her. And so we were together and met up for a month straight before we actually started shooting, just so that we got to meet each other properly. And then I was always with her whenever she was using the phone to film, but it's 100%, you know, her, like, it's not directed in the sense of I told her what to say. She was the one choosing what to say, how to say it, where to say it. And then it was the magic of the edit to put it all together.
I think it's great that that's the way it happened, because again, collaboration, and I think that filmmaking is such a collaborative effort, and I really appreciated that she shared her life with us. And for some people who have preconceived notions about how homeless people might feel, like when she said, "And this is where I sleep," she was, you know, she was not ashamed. You know, this is matter of fact. And I think that that was really valuable for people to see. So thank you for that. Tell us if anybody has any fun stories or challenges that they want to share with the audience. You know, Charles, I see you nodding there maybe a little bit. You have something you think that the audience would like to hear about the making of your film?
Yeah. Look, I was watching this like the recap of Barry Jenkins talking about one of his films, and he was just talking about, as a filmmaker, he just plans, and then lets go. And so we planned, and the last scene, which, y'all, by the way, was a one take. Let me know what you think about it. We shot on the block that I grew up on, so literally me going back home, and there were no extras in it. And somebody was, you know, ran into an old neighbor. It's like, "Oh man, how you been? You been good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. We're shooting this film actually." He's like, "Can we be in it?" And I was like, Yes, you can." So all the there's like a family and kids that run the opposite way during that last take. That wasn't supposed to be in the film. So that was one of those happy accidents that I think when I watched it back, I was like, wow, that just added so much, you know, more complexity and detail to the film that wouldn't have been there had I not been shooting on my block and known the people and just been okay with those happy accidents and collaborations that happened during filmmaking. So that was one of those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It really does make it. And it seemed completely right on, believable, not an add-on at all. So yeah, great. Anybody else? Fun stories, challenges they want to share? Just raise your hand and go.
First of all, I love that, Charles. I just love that, you know, when you let go, you allow real life to come in, and you capture that. You know, that's you know, that's it. We had a lot of planning as well. We had a lot of planning for how we were going to get all these phone calls. We had like 3 different characters who have phone calls, but you know, we wanted to have them be live phone calls, so I'm not just talking to nobody on the phone. So we had them down the hallway in a room. But the cell reception was so bad in the building that we were in that we had to like tap into the general Wi-Fi for the building and use FaceTime audio. And then, Avi, how do we do it? Do we have a phone in your pocket?
Yeah, we had, because we were actually having them call Daniel at certain times for the script because we wanted to see the phone ring. And we wanted him to actually talk to the people. So we had all of them in one room. But for them to hear when to call, we had another phone in my pocket. Like, I was operating camera. So we had a phone in my pocket that they had another phone so they could listen to what was happening in the room.
It was like a monitor, basically.
Yeah. And
so they could know when to call in.
Theater.
Yeah, it really was.
Theater.
It was like putting up a one act play and filming it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you needed a stage manager.
We really did.
Yeah. Right?
If I were to do it again, I would have hired a stage manager.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Kris, did you have something to share?
I was just going to say it's interesting looking back on how we did post-production now for our film, especially now that we're in this pandemic and so much is being done online and remotely. I actually, after we shot the film, I moved away from LA to Chicago, and all my other friends who I shot with were still in Los Angeles, so we did all of post-production remotely. My editor and our sound mixer and everybody were in Los Angeles still, and that's probably more common with a lot of short films than I might think, but it was the first time I'd worked that way before. And it was a little challenging, but we were, I would call up my editor and we would screen share and edit remotely together. And it wasn't ideal, but it worked out. And now it's probably happening with, big budget films. Everybody's doing it that way.
Right. So interesting. So tell us what you're working on now. I think the pandemic is just, we have, I think, maybe 6 films that we're showing that were made during the pandemic. Yeah, really interesting. So we don't have any films about the pandemic, but I bet you next year we will. Anyway, tell us what you're working on. Let's just go around the circle. Charles, what are you up to?
Yeah, I'm in pre-production for a feature film. It's gonna be my first feature film, so I'm really excited about it. And I'm infatuated, I think, with figuring out this idea of going back to solve an issue or to tackle something. And so, outside of acting, I'm also an arts educator. And in Chicago, we're really a tale of two cities, and it's very clear in the education system. And so this feature film, a teacher who, for all intents and purposes, could have been working wherever for however much money, goes back to the south side of Chicago to try to tackle gun violence and education inequities and what comes along with that. And he uses fireworks to reclaim those bumps and thumps in the night that we hear.
Wow, can't wait to see it. Good luck. Alexandra, what about you? Yeah.
So the writer Elaine and I have 2 projects together that we're working on at the moment. One is a feature film, and it's a romantic comedy about polyamory, which is really fun. And then we have another project, which is a TV series, and that's actually loosely connected to Endo. So it features a main character who also has the condition, and she's a really angry woman who essentially is in denial about a lot of shit that's going on in her life. And it's sort of about her having to actually confront her issues and admit them to other people. So that's a lot of fun, and we're taking that through a development lab at the moment. So lots of fun stuff to be delving into.
Good. What about you, Kris?
Outside my normal job, which is in the visual effects industry, I've got a feature screenplay that I'm putting some finishing touches on that is very much inspired by Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, but I've always wanted to do something like that that's live action, not animated. So a lot of magical realism about a girl who's, again, dealing with loss and sort of going through the stages of grief. And then outside of that, I've been learning music production. So
fantastic.
That's
Do you
been my
think some
hobby.
of that is because of the pandemic, and so you have more time on your hands?
I think so, yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Fortunately, work is picking up again a bit now, but for a while, yeah, I had a lot of free time, which I enjoyed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Daniel and Avi, what are you doing together or separately?
Avi, I'll let you go
first. We're working on a feature film screenplay. We've got
writing stages for that.
Yeah, we're working on that. We've been writing this whole pandemic, and it's been pretty awesome. It's been tough, but awesome. Trying to find like a very small indie feature idea to make, and then also we have a couple of short films. I got a short film I'm shooting in 2 weeks, which I'm really excited to do.
And then I'm writing a short with actually my girlfriend, who was associate producer on Running Out. We're writing a short film together that we'll shoot hopefully before the end of the year. And then on the acting side, I have a feature film called Beast that just played at Sundance this past year, and that should be coming out hopefully in the next year.
Fantastic. Giulia, what about you?
I actually was lucky enough to direct my first TV series this year, so I wrapped on that like a couple of weeks back. So now I'm mainly just developing and thinking what my next steps are going to be. And even more importantly, Lily, my co-director and contributor on the documentary, she's not on the streets anymore now. We managed to build some support because we distributed the film online, and we got all the money that we got went to Lily, obviously. And now she's found a partner, so her and her doggy are safe in East London, and she's starting a new life. And I cannot wait to be back in London to celebrate with her.
Oh, that is such great news. I just got total goosebumps. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Block 4, I cannot thank you enough. You guys are awesome, and I know everybody's going to really appreciate your films and your time here with us today. I know I do. Thank you so much. Good luck. Please consider Film Pittsburgh a home for your work always, and send it our way. To our Film Pittsburgh audience, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.